Hello everyone, this video is all about digestion and absorption of carbohydrates under the topic carbohydrate metabolism. So when we say carbohydrate metabolism, that is the utilization of foods that contains carbohydrates into ATP that can be used as energy source of our body. So let us first define digestion. So the definition of digestion evolves as you go through your higher education. So when you are in your lower education, we define digestion as simply as the breakdown of food. But here in biochemistry and higher biology, we define it as biochemical process by which food molecules through hydrolysis are broken down into simpler chemical units that can be used by cells for their metabolic needs. When we say hydrolysis, from the word lysis, breakdown by the use of water, hydro. And then, when we say metabolic needs, this is the requirement for our body to produce an energy, and that is the carbs. So we will convert that, or our body will convert that into a usable energy. And when we say simpler chemical units, those are the monosaccharides, disaccharides, but the simplest of all is the monosaccharides. So that's the goal of the digestion in our body. So the digestion of carbohydrates begins in the mouth when you intake a food that contains carbs, of course. And this is where the enzyme salivary alpha amylase is located. This saliva alpha amylase catalyzes the hydrolysis of some alpha glycosidic bonds. When we say hydrolysis, that is the breakdown using the water. And alpha glycosidic bonds are bonds that connects the simpler monosaccharides together, hundreds of thousands of them, or tens to hundreds of thousands, to produce a disaccharide, a oligosaccharide, and polysaccharide. So, what happened here is, let me give you an example. So, for example, we have here a disaccharide. This is the glycosidic bond, the bond that connects the two units together. You add the water there, or a saliva, you are able to break down the bond, or split that, or so what will happen, they will be separated. So this applies as well in polysaccharides, or hundreds to thousands change of monosaccharides. So that is what we mean by hydrolysis, the breakdown or separation of the larger units into simpler units. And then let us tackle what is the saliva alpha amylase. So, salivary alpha amylase. This is the constituent of saliva. So, that is being secreted by our salivary glands that is located in our mouth. And it contains 99% of water. That's why that is what we call hydrolysis, because it contains primarily of 99% of water plus small amounts of several inorganic ions and organic molecules. The saliva secretion can be triggered by taste, smell, sight, and even thought of food. Then the average saliva output is about 1.5 liters per day in every individual. Only a small amount of carbohydrate digestion occurs in the mouth because food is swallowed so quickly. Sometimes you aren't even chewing it properly. So that is why there is a small breakdown of carbohydrates there, or mechanical digestion as we call it. Then therefore it will produce some undigested food or polysaccharides. Then we have sometimes it can produce maltose, sucrase, and lactose, but most of the time, the dominant carbohydrate here is the polysaccharides, because that has not been thoroughly broken down. And then the next step occurs in the stomach. It contains gastric juices, but these gastric juices or acidic juices has no effect on the digestion. Why? Because the salivary alpha amylase has been inactivated by the acidic environment of the stomach, although the food stays longer here. But then there's no breakdown of food that occurs here actually. What happens is that it just softens the food, okay? And then, but there's no literally separation or breakdown of polysaccharides or disaccharides. There's nothing such as that. So it only softens the food to go to the small intestine. Next stage, the small intestine, wherein the softened food from the stomach will pass through here. So this is the primary site for carbohydrate digestion within the small intestine, where alpha amylase, this time being secreted by pancreas, in which we call it as pancreatic digestive enzymes. This pancreatic digestive enzymes catalyzes the hydrolysis of polysaccharides to disaccharides. So that is the ultimate goal of small intestine or intestine. So it will produce a maltose, a sucrose, and a lactose. And then the next step or the final step in carbohydrate digestion occurs in the outer membranes of intestinal mucosal cells. So where the enzymes that convert disaccharides to monosaccharides are located. These enzymes are maltase, sucrase, and lactase. These three enzymes here catalyzes the hydrolysis of disaccharides. So meaning to say it will break down the disaccharides to produce the monosaccharides, and it will produce galactose, fructose, and glucose. So for example, maltase here, it will break down the maltose into 2 units of glucose. The lactase here will break down the lactose into 1 galactose and 1 glucose. The sucrase will break down the sucrose into 1 glucose and 1 fructose. So that is what will happen in intestinal mucosal cells. And these are the enzymes responsible for the breakdown of disaccharides to monosaccharides. This is the intestinal mucosal cells, the outer layer of that. This one. Not that this one, not that villi here, ha. Just this one, the outer part. So the three major breakdown products from the carbohydrate digestion are glucose, galactose, and fructose. These monosaccharides are absorbed into the bloodstream through the intestinal lining or villi. So this intestinal lining or villi are finger-like projections. These are the finger-like projections. So these finger-like projections or the villi here are rich in blood capillaries. So through the process of active transport in what we call the absorption by active transport, because it will help the pumping of the monosaccharides because they are the simplest unit of carbohydrates, with the help of the ions for the monosaccharide to pass through here. So that is where the monosaccharides pass through to enter the bloodstream. So that is all for digestion and absorption of carbohydrates.